Well, President Trump revealing he may be close to a tariff deal with China. He says the country has reached out to him several times, and he believes the two nations could reach a deal within weeks. Now, this comes as the president's top economic advisor says the White House has more than 15 trade deals in the works. National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett not revealing much more, saying the moves are major steps forward. For more, we turn now to our political panel. Republican strategist Timothy Allen Simon and Democratic strategist Jonathan Harris. Great to have you both, gentlemen. Thank you for being here.
Sure thing.
So, Timothy, I'd like to start with you. President Trump saying 100% there will be a trade deal with the European Union shortly. Hassett said Friday the White House has more than 15 trade deals on the horizon. The markets were closed on Good Friday, so we didn't get reaction there yesterday. But when the White House is able to announce some major trade deals, it seems as if we may see some consumer confidence stabilize a little bit. What's your read on the timing of that, perhaps, as well as when we may hear these announcements?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you both.
How's my lighting? One of my lights just went out.
You know, Timothy, we're live on the air. Did you catch the question? All right, Jonathan, I'll turn that over to you. Did you hear the question?
Sure. Yes, if I recall, you were asking if the markets would stabilize and if consumer confidence would increase?
When and if these trade announcements, these deals are made and announced.
You know, it's such a huge if. I think certainly the bar is pretty low, but sure, I think that they might increase. But these are big ifs. I've said repeatedly, the Trump administration seems to govern through chaos. They put tariffs on our biggest trading partners, then they remove them, but then they keep them on China, and then they say, but they won't apply to this product and that product, and so it's hard really to gauge what we're going to see happen. I think if it does happen, sure, I think the markets will stabilize and consumer confidence will increase. But I think a huge underlying part of that decrease in confidence from consumers is the chaos that every day it seems like you wake up and it's what's happening today? What are we doing today? There's no consistency, you know, and I know that the Trump administration liked to call President Biden Sleepy Joe, but I think part of it was because people could sleep at night peacefully, not worrying about their 401ks, not worrying about, crashing markets. So it is a pretty big if.
Well, let's talk about some of the action from the left. You know, Jonathan, the left has been outspoken about these moves. The governor of California, Gavin Newsom, who does appear to be gearing up for a presidential bid on Wednesday, moved to sue the Trump administration over tariffs, saying essentially that the president lacks the power to impose them. So we do know Americans are widely feeling the pain of these tariffs. The president's promising this is short term. How do you see this lawsuit playing out? And what do you make of the political play here as well?
Well, I think Gavin Newsom has a lot on his plate. I mean, he was, I don't know if a lot of people are aware, but I mean, he also started a podcast recently, and he got a lot of pushback from his base, from his progressive base for platforming people like Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon. And so I think it was important for him to, the legal aspect aside, just politically show that he is pushing back against the Trump administration and not kind of sinking in with this kind of right. He had criticized the Democratic Party when he was talking with Bill Maher. And so I think that this is important to, and what he pointed out when he was making his remarks, he said that California is a donor state. He referred to it as a donor state, that we send more money to the federal government than we get back. And he pointed out Speaker Mike Johnson's state and some of those other red states that require the assistance that California provides. And so I think it was important for him to do that, not only from a legal perspective, but politically, to kind of reassure his base that he's going to need if he's going to be making a presidential bid, to reassure his base that he is indeed firmly on the left, and that his criticism of the Democratic Party is not him, moving toward Trump, but trying maybe to reach toward the center.
Timothy, I'll give you a chance to respond, and then I'd like to ask you quickly about the Fed chair.
Well, yes, I think my esteemed colleague is correct in one sense. California is the fifth largest economy in the world. It's the largest importer and second largest exporter in the United States. However, the Constitution does put the authority of tariffs, or excises as it's referred to, and that's in Section 8. Yes, correct, Section 8, Article 1, as being with Congress. So if you're suing the executive branch because the power is in Congress, then you're putting the power into the hands of Mike Johnson and John Thune. So I think there's a certain degree of futility. It may be symbolic in terms of Governor Newsom. I'm in San Francisco, California right now, where he started on our board of supervisors and became mayor, lieutenant governor, and governor. We're very proud of Governor Newsom, but be that as it may, this may have stronger political underpinnings than it has actual economic and or trade impacts.
Timothy, I wanted to ask you, we have about a minute left in the segment, but President Trump, he's not happy that the Fed isn't set to cut interest rates. We know that, saying Jerome Powell's resignation can't come soon enough. So presidents can't fire governors from the Fed's board without misconduct or another specific cause. But experts have noted this legal gray area when it comes to the demotion of a Fed chair back to the board level. How do you see all of this playing out and the optics of all of this as well in light of the other cases that have already made their way to the Supreme Court during the president's second term?
Well, I think President Trump is engaged in wordplay. He said his termination, or he wrote that his termination could not come fast enough. That doesn't mean that he's necessarily going to terminate him. And I should note that the Central Bank of Europe has lowered interest rates. And many economists feel that if we are going to experience a tax by way of tariffs, then a cut in interest rates could help to stabilize and maybe even prevent what Jerome Powell has referred to as the potential of stagflation. So I believe President Trump says one thing on social media, but often does another. I believe this is how he plays the game. The game has created uncertainty in the marketplace.
Yeah.
There are financial instruments that benefit from that uncertainty, but be that as it may, these are challenging, clearly challenging times.
That's
Jonathan,
that governing
Timothy,
through chaos.
thank you very much. I wish we had more time. Thank you for weighing in.
Sure thing.